Be careful of the giants in the playground. Good morning. I'm just kind of doing this video to kind of get some things off my mind that have been going on. I'm kind of at a point where what I want to say is just be careful of the giants in the playground. I've never seen in my entire lifetime the amount of manipulation that's going on in our country. The pendulum swings seem to be getting bigger and bigger every time a political event and the division among Americans. I've never seen it this bad. So I'm going to kind of go through some things to get some things off my mind. This is what I do when I've got a lot of stuff on my mind. If I'm not working, I'll go and take the dog out on a walk, and I walk for about 4 or 5 miles and kind of just think about things and try to make sense of a macro picture that's going on. But right now we're clearly in a time of transition in the United States. I've never seen it this bad. It's almost as if America is now like a team sport. You have two political parties that dominate. There's no other opposition that's viable. So anyway, I'm going to kind of go through some things in my mind that I see happening. You may or may not agree with it. A lot of people think that maybe I'm conservative. Yes, I have conservative values, but I'm more of a center right. I believe in I am a faithful American. I am a student of American history, so I've seen a lot of things happen and make sense of historical events and the things behind it. But anyway, I'm going to go on with what I think is going on. Right now, I see America in a great deal of transition. I think there's a couple of one of the first books, if you're not aware of it, is called The Fourth Turning, which basically says about, in a nutshell, the book is about every 80 years or so, which ironically is the same amount of time that they call in the Bible a generation. So Neil Howe and Strauss, I can't remember the fellow's first name, he's passed away, but Neil Howe's still out there talking about his book. The Fourth Turning, basically every 80 years, there's basically a reset that happens among society, monetary powers, and so forth. So where does that put us back? Hold on, the dog's kind of twisting me up in the leash, but anyway, come on, Shy, let's go. About every 80 years, monetary systems change, governments change, power structures shift. 80 years ago, roughly, 80 to 90 years ago, we had World War II. Great financial situation that happened before that. I believe the trading currency at the time was the British sterling pound. So before that, I think it was the Dutch who were basically in power. But anyway, there's basically every 80 years. So we'll go back 80 years now. From now, it was World War II. Before that, we'll probably see the Civil War in our country. And then also before that, the American Revolution, and you can apply that across in European history and so forth. So power structures do it, and the reason we repeat these cycles is basically the generation that remembers them. I have one grandparent that was before that generation, that remembers the transition. She's in her 90s, but she grew up during the Depression. She was born during the Depression, saw the World War II, and the establishment of the Bretton Woods Agreement, which established basically the American system of dominance, financially, after industrial and financially. And then now we have seen basically with the counterculture of the 60s, basically a rejection of those morals, social norms and so forth, and then a destruction of the society, which happened into the 90s, where they offshored most of our industrial thing with the globalist movement. And that has been going forth anyway for quite a long time. And through the 90s, they offshored everything, basically financialized our system to where basically what they call the fire economy is financial, insurance, real estate. And so we don't really produce anything anymore. We're 36 trillion in debt. If you can see how interest rates like that, especially when interest rates get high, that debt becomes entirely unpayable. So we're kind of at the end of this system. Again, you'll see trading partners now that have starting new economic blocks like the BRICS and so forth. But I think to distract the American people about what's been going on, they've basically created a system of division through manipulation. I think I started seeing that really. I mean, I was pretty young at the time in high school in the 80s during Reagan thing, but I believe the country was basically really kind of taken over, and a massive change happened with the Kennedy assassination. There's a lot more to that, and that's beyond the scope of what I want to talk about this morning, but I kind of think the takeover of America happened at that point, with intelligence, drugs, etc., and global powers basically manipulating countries. But that's probably happened throughout eons, but now we have the technological means to do that even better. But what I noticed was the pendulum swing of basically from conservative to liberal social values becoming magnified in the 90s. Dog and pony shows with scandals and so forth. And believe me, there are plenty of real scandals going on. Take your pick, they're everywhere. But they started funneling most of with the NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement, and then GATT. That's where they just really started shoveling the money and resources out of this country for globalist purposes. And the globalist movement, you have different organizations like the Trilateral Commission, Council on Foreign Relations. These people have absolutely zero loyalty to any country. These people are multinational. They are opportunists, and they will take advantage of anything. They will manipulate countries, people, citizens, and everything. But as you notice, these transitions, it's almost like steering a sailboat. You're going to tack back and forth. So the political pendulum swings. They'll push it far in one way, and then you have a transition of government to a new party or a new type of system, conservative, they'll go another way. It's basically tit for tat issues. But warfare, so you're seeing that more and more. The pendulum swings farther and farther and farther each way as every election, dividing the people, getting the people heated, and so forth. So, you know, people can do radical changes once a new party gets involved and basically punish the other side for what has happened. I'm seeing that more and more. You know, ironically, our system of government, the constitutional republic, was based on compromise and coming to agreements and you know, giving and taking on either side to come to an agreement, which is best, which should be best for the American people. But we know there's too many influences for that. But I saw this really magnify under Obama. I believe whatever you want to think about Obama, do a little research into his mother's side of the family and their connection to intelligence. His stepfather, Lolo Sotero. If you think Obama came from humble beginnings, think again. His sister, his stepsister, is probably one of the richest people in the world. Lolo Sotero was a very good friend and connected to George Bush. These things are like connected. I believe it was the oil companies in Indonesia that Lolo Sotero was head of the death squads and so forth in that country, involved in the oil industry there. But I think there was somebody a while back that talked about that actually Obama, if you do some research into his background, his Durham, his mother, and her connection to military or the intelligence agencies and so forth, and he's probably one of the richest presidents we've ever had. And I'll leave that there for you to check out. But under Obama, what we came into was the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, which basically was the idea that the United States, prior to that, the Smith-Mundt prior to the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, the American media was not allowed to turn propaganda inward. But with that law and that act, that reversed that. So basically, state-sponsored propaganda could be turned inward on the American people. And obviously, that's, you probably have noticed ever since then, whichever side you agree with. And I think personally, most of it is bullshit. And you know, you're going to have to go outside this country and basically do research on foreign journalism, independent journalism, and come to a conclusion by analysis of all. Don't look at stuff that agrees with your own viewpoint, but try to look at the other side, and probably somewhere therein in the middle, after analysis, you're going to find there's the truth somewhere in between. But anyway, I think ever since then, America has been under what's called fifth generation warfare. You'll have to look that up for what that is, but that's basically a non-kinetic warfare that uses propaganda and cyber attacks, etc., to conduct warfare by non-kinetic means. And a lot of it is basically psychological warfare, which I believe America now is heavily in at this point. And it's not only from external forces is every country is doing this now. It's not just America, but every country is doing it to each other. But not only that, they're doing it internally on their own people. So I think the American people are under extreme manipulation at this point. And it disheartens me to see the division and people siding with their team as if this was the AFL and the NFL and we're into a big Super Bowl playoff. That is what they call divide and rule. It's the oldest game in the book, and America has eaten it up. The United States has eaten it up like a bunch of manipulated sheep and rats. So anyway, so with that act of Smith Modernization Act, we are under extreme psychological warfare at this point. And not only that, I think we're in a fifth generational civil war here in the United States. They've got us so divided that we're fighting amongst ourselves. We went on to get the Trump administration in 2016. Honestly, I don't think Trump really had any idea what he was doing during that. His thing in here, he beat Hillary Clinton. And you talk about voting machines, believe me, they are manipulated. They're going to be used to manipulate vote counts. I think that maybe that Hillary Clinton was more unpopular than they had imagined, and their algorithms could not do that. And just look at them complaining, Democrats complaining about the voting machines well before the 2016 election. So to say that they're perfectly safe when 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 8 years ago, before that election, they were complaining about manipulating votes. So anyway, you had Donald Trump, and then I believe that was kind of a surprise upset for a lot of people. Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. But I don't think he really understood the total manipulation of outside influences on politicians, presidents, and so forth, and how much donor money and donors and PACs and so forth have the ability to steer government. And these politicians who we're finding now are clearly on the take. When you have career politicians without term limits, the money, I don't care how wholesome and moral and whatever you are going to be susceptible to bribery, and probably it would take an extraordinarily resilient human and resolute person to not succumb to being wooed by $20 million or sweetheart placements and so forth like that. Come on. You don't think that's happening. It's happening on both sides everywhere. So get over it. Wake up, become an adult, and find out. Realize that this is the society we live in. Anyway. But anyway, I don't think he knew exactly what, when I started seeing the cabinets and the people that he brought in to his cabinet, it was incredibly shocking, the naivete that he brought in. And I think his administration was doomed from the start. There were too many people who were bought off that he had brought into his administration. He was sabotaged from the beginning, could never get anything done. So, and who knows, Trump is an opportunist as well. He likes money, he likes to make money, and most of all, he likes to consider himself a huge negotiator and rest aside the idea of the largeness of his ego. So, and then we got this election for the second, after his first term, all kinds of anomalies. Joe Biden not even campaigning, and how many Democrats basically, really, I mean, if you look at the groups that he, we had that pandemic, which was, in my opinion, that was biological warfare, in my opinion. But anyway, you had Biden with his, minuscule rallies and so forth, people standing in circles, 18 feet away, and then these massive crowds for Trump rallies that he was able to pull this off. You go to bed, and then all of a sudden there's all these rises in votes in these swing states, and the next morning every one of those votes are for Joe Biden. Come on, people, grow up. And then you have the Biden administration, which was really an administration of no president at all. I believe we were on autopilot, being steered and run by oligarchs, special interest, and deep state characters. And it was just crazy. And now we're here back at Trump. The pendulum swinging massively the other way again. So, but in my opinion, that is more and more manipulation. So let's look at where we're at now. $36 trillion in debt. Trump and his sidekick Elon Musk. If you don't know about Elon Musk, you need to look into him. I don't trust him. His grandfather was he was from Canada. He was part of the technocracy movement, and then during the Depression, basically, if you don't know what technocracy is, it's really basically government ruled by technocrats and quote experts. And you always see in news articles, experts say, without really quoting anything. But who are these experts and what are their qualifications? Yeah, look into that. But anyway, he was head of Technocracy Inc. He basically advocated in Canada a technate society ruled by experts and governed by experts, which is basically like a scientific technate. You'll see that portrayed in, say, like 1984, and in A Brave New World. So he was basically run out of Canada, was sent to, and you got to look at what Elon Musk's son's name. It's basically numbers and letters, very odd name, and I believe X is one of them. He named his son this odd thing, but one of the things that Elon Musk's grandfather would do, they even came up with like technical names for each other. Like they adopted these series of letters and numbers as their names rather than traditional names with that translate in certain languages to mean something. But anyway, so Elon Musk's son is labeled that, and as if his grandfather had a name like that, and Elon Musk is part of the technocracy movement. You don't name your child after someone without respecting them. So Elon Musk, in my opinion, is a technate into technocracy, and he supports that wholeheartedly. It is not a democratic society. It is ruled by technate elite. And so, anyway, Elon Musk, I don't trust him. I believe he's got ulterior motives. You may or may not. Yes, has he released things that have exposed things? Sure. But he's basically doing a trial run for AI to be an AI governance tool to streamline government and basically the technical sector to be that. J.D. Vance, who is his sponsor, Peter Thiel. Elon Musk and Peter Thiel are connected through the PayPal mafia. And then there's, oh gosh, I can't remember the guy's name, but there's this whole philosophical theory that these technocrats have, which is basically they want to be ruled by a strong king and administered by technate elite, quote, experts. Everything will be ruled by AI. You will be fully tracked. And with this in mind, I believe Trump is compromised at this point. You may or may not agree with me. You're looking for a savior to do this. There's no one coming to save you right now. The idea that someone is going to come in and expose everything and return everything back. No, these people that are behind Trump, they want to be paid after all this is done, and they will be paid. So you may hate me for that or not, but again, we are in 5th generation warfare. You are being highly, highly manipulated. So what we have now is basically the destruction of traditional media, alternative media, which is everybody's on the take. Everybody's getting paid with sponsorships. These sponsorships go back, even these people that claim to be independent media, they're collecting money from USAID and have been, but no, were they exposed during this whole USAID thing that Elon Musk put out? No, none of that was mentioned. And let's look at the Epstein folders that just came out and who got those. These are these people who are in media, alternative media, that got these things being brought in by the Trump administration. So here we are, almost $37 trillion in debt. What has Trump done during his making his bones? He has, he's the king of reorganization and bankruptcy. If you think the U.S. can continue to as usual with the amount of debt that they have, we are coming to the end of the road, people. And everybody has normalcy bias, but this is anything but normal. And people right now are jockeying for position. And what my biggest fear right now is that we have this technocratic elite that are embedded with the Trump administration, and I believe they are highly manipulating the situation for their own benefit. So with that in mind, be careful for the giants in the playground, because things are globally are being realigned right now. I think COVID was the last ditch effort by people who are into globalism and the globalist structure. I believe those people overplayed their cards and it broke apart on them. They destroyed the supply chain and the U.S. hegemony through that. Whether you think that came from a bat in a wet market, I got a bridge to sell you, or some swampland underwater to sell you, because again, it's time to grow up and see what's happening. That was not a naturally thing. These shots, Big Pharma had interest in carrying this forward, and now mRNA technology, all you need to do is research that and see how that's tied in with the technocracy, the nanoparticles in it, how it can be basically used to track manipulate, and your body has become basically a battery with that technology if you continue to take it. Not unlike the Matrix. There is a technology with, I believe it's a patent that Bill Gates has with using the human body as a data source, basically a link. You're a hub, you're a switch. So anyway, you'll have to look up that on your own. I'm not going to get into that, but anyway, right now you need to be careful. The stock market, look at all the gold being shoveled back and forth between nations. It's all coming to the U.S. The U.S. is going to remain strong because we are the global currency. And so we're just basically the strongest horse in the glue factory until this thing just shakes out to where it's going to end up. So, and I think it's the milkshake theory that has been touted that, while this transition's going on, people are going to be flocking to the United States to park their money. So that's going to give you basically a thought that this is going to be, we're going to be a stable economy until it's not. We're going to be the last one standing until this transition is fully complete. But in the meantime, we are under 5th generation warfare. I encourage you to look up what that is, and that's what we're being done to. We're being manipulated and steered like a sailboat tacking into the direction that they want us to go. And right now, to me, with clearly what has been running these Q movements, and if you're not aware with that, look up what that is, but I believe that is an artificial intelligence, 5th generation warfare thing that has been used in the alternative media to steer the conservative side. But right now, you're seeing it applied in government right now. There is no human that can sift through that kind of data like it's been happening to expose this graft. It would have taken years to do that, and AI can do it in no time. So what basically Musk is doing, he is demonstrating how efficient government can run on his platform. Beware of wolves in sheep's clothing and Trojan horses, because I believe that is where we're at right now. Look at Peter Thiel's connection to Palantir. Eric Prince is in the background. It is. And when I look at technocracy, I believe technocracy is very similar to fascism. So, but not quite. So it's going to be, instead of one ruler, they may have a figurehead, but it's ruled by these technical elites from the background. And clearly this is happening right now. So where does that put us right now? We are, I believe, in the midst of a civil war that is non-kinetic. So watch out for that. Do not get divided from your loved ones. Your family and your close extended family are going to be very important. You need to keep them close, and you need to stay together despite your team your favorite political team, which is what that is. But remember, we have more in common than we do differences. And we do have a constitution that, although not perfect, we have an amendment process to correct those errors. But there is no other document like that in probably the world. And is a good system. Is it perfect? No. Does it have contradictions? Or did it have contradictions from the beginning? Yes. But did we do things to correct that? Yes, we have. Nobody's perfect, but it's the best document we have, and it has provisions for checks and balances, which are heavily being manipulated right now. So, but yeah, watch out for these people that are in Trump's administration that seem like they are going to clean house. And they will clean house for those people that are not aligned with them, but you will never see the exposure of the other side. And if you think there's graft on one side, believe me, on your side there is probably the same, if not more. So don't for once think that is. And when we come to this, when this transition from the United States hegemony of having the luxury of the trading currency, that, my opinion, will cause a global conflict, as it has in the past. So be prepared for that. I think that will probably come at the end game, when things cannot be held together with baling wire and chewing gum and financial schemes. The gold right now that you're seeing in there, I think that is being moved around for a variety of purposes. Number one, the paper gold market is heavily manipulated. If you're investing in SLV and GLD, those are rehypothecated gold amounts, and nobody ever actually transacts gold. It is nothing but paper, and it's been rehypothecated, so multiple people will own the same claims on the same gold. It's bull, it's crap. That's why the London bullion market, I think we went from LIBOR to SOFR. So you're seeing a big movement of gold from London to the US right now. People are repatriating gold, and I think getting ready to position themselves for the coming reset that will be coming. Holding cash, make sure you're in real assets, tangible assets, income producing assets. And that just doesn't mean that a business that can sustain trends and trend shifts that produce a positive cash flow. Just be careful, because this transition is coming, and this is going to be an opportunity for people to be winners and losers, or be able to mitigate those type of things. You need to be positioned balanced. So I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm just saying what I do. Anyway, on top of that, of being highly manipulated and being in a non-kinetic warfare right now within the United States, we are also being manipulated with fifth generation warfare from other nation states. So yeah, do that. Just know that the Israel, the Middle East, that's highly manipulative. And what just gets me is the Zionist, and I'll just leave it there. A lot of Christians feel they have to back these secular Jews that are Zionist because of their religious background. Believe me, these people are not religious. They are secular, and Zionism was actually thought up in the late 1800s by a guy named Herzl, who was actually an atheist. So, an atheistic European Jew. So I'm going to leave that there. But all said and done, be careful of the giants in the playground, because people are jockeying for power, and you as a person, a regular person, will be crushed under their feet if you get in their way. And if you don't think that this is transitioning, we are going to continue the way we are. Like I said, I've got some swampland underwater off the coast of Louisiana to sell you, because this is what happens when power vacuum starts to happen. Things move quickly, people manipulate and are looking to put themselves into position for when this transition comes, and it is coming. And above all, this is a spiritual. You need to basically be spiritually equipped for manipulation that comes right now. They're going to be triggering religion as well, and I consider myself of Abrahamic traditions on the Christian side, but I think organized religion is highly manipulated, and I don't believe my God is a high finance God. So, I'll just leave it as Jesus walked the earth homeless and changed the world. So, above all, make sure you're right with whatever faith, and my faith is in Jesus. So I will leave it there. Just don't get caught up in this. Your people, keep your people close. Your friends, remember, we all have more in common than we have differences. We all need safety, food, and shelter, but be worried about those who promise it but are also profiting from manipulating the system. And these long-term politicians, oh my God, these people need to go. We need people that would be willing to lay down their life to do the right thing, and those are a rare breed right now. So anyway, I love you. I hope the best for this country, but will this happen tomorrow, all this transition? No. I believe by 2032, I think we're going to see 2032, I believe we're going to see probably a major conflict for the transition, and I think, quite frankly, the bankruptcy of the government and this revaluing of gold that they're talking about right now is nothing more than to reduce the debt and manipulate what our debt denominated in dollars can be reduced. So I still don't think it's enough to save the system. So be prepared, position yourself. I feel sorry for the young people coming up, but as were the children who grew up during the Depression and fought in World War II, they built a new society and became the rebuilders of society. They did. After the system collapsed, they rebuilt, and these children that we think that right now don't have the ability to do something, I'd say probably some of these Gen Z people that are coming up are probably more conservative and into conservative monetary practices, as well as back into family values. But that, and I think the Gen X might provide some leadership, but those are the Gen Z is going to be the people that rebuild this, and the generations after that are going to rebuild from the destruction of this. But also do not underestimate the spiritual implications of this, because there is not only the fighting in the public, but you can see there's a spiritual battle going on for the soul of humanity. And look into why they want to have control of your DNA. Anyway, I wanted to get that off my chest. But love your people and be ready, because change is what is going to be the norm, and chaos. Or what seems to be chaos, but it's organized chaos and manipulation. And all of you that think you're on the other side of belief, I love you. And what I want is for people to agree and have their own beliefs, but come to the conclusion of the idea of what's in the best for the common good, even though it doesn't serve your personal purposes. Look at what happens for the common good of society. Anyway, love you guys. Take care.